The first round of the 2024 NFL Draft is over, and boy was there some madness that happened. 6 quarterbacks went in the first 12 picks, and multiple big trades went down that we weren't expecting. Today, we'll be taking a look at a few of the major winners and a few big losers from the first round of the draft. The first and most obvious winner of the day is the Chicago Bears. Not only did they get their new franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams, but they also got him an elite weapon in Rome Odunze. The two have already established some strong chemistry together, and it looks like they're going to be paired up for the next 5 to 10 years at least. Add on the fact that they already have DJ Moore and an improving young defense, and there's a lot of reason to think that they'll be a perennial playoff team in the NFC. Every other team in the NFC North should be very worried about what's cooking up in Chicago right now. Speaking of franchise quarterbacks, the Patriots were also able to get their guy. There were some rumors that they wanted to take JJ McCarthy or trade down, but ultimately they made the right move by staying put and taking Drake May out of North Carolina. He has some of the highest upside out of any player in this entire class, and he's easily the best quarterback that they've had from a talent perspective since Tom Brady. There may be some growing pains with the team lacking any strong receiving options for him, but one good thing about him is that he's already used to that. He had almost no help from his receiving core or offensive line in his time at UNC, and his talent was still obvious despite that. I have full confidence that he's going to be an absolute superstar at the NFL level, and the Patriots made the right pick here. Detroit didn't really do anything crazy, but they did make a really fundamentally good move that undoubtedly improves their team. They traded up to take cornerback Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, which is great because their secondary has been a really big weak point for them over the past couple of seasons. They got a good value on him relative to where he was projected to go prior to the draft, and all of the moves that they made over the past couple of seasons should leave them with a great defense in 2023. They obviously still have Aiden Hutchinson, but recently they've added Jack Campbell, DJ Reader, Brian Branch, Carlton Davis, and now Terrion Arnold, so this looks like it's going to be an elite unit in 2024 and for the foreseeable future. A couple of the other teams that I think had good nights were the Rams and the Raiders. The Rams got a good value on Jared Verse, even if it wasn't necessarily the flashiest pick they could have made. They needed help on the defensive line, especially, and I'd go as far as to say that he might be the best defender in this entire class from a talent perspective. As for the Raiders, they made the right call by picking Brock Bowers. Sure, they have an excess at the tight end position now after they picked Michael Mayer in the second round of last year's class, but Brock Bowers is a generational talent that simply fell too far down the board. They aren't anywhere near contending, so they just simply need to bring in as much talent as possible, and they did just that. Moving on to the losers, the biggest one of the night was clearly the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, what were they thinking taking Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick? They just signed Kirk Cousins to a big deal this offseason, and it looked like they were going to be able to contend for the 1 seed in the NFC this year. Instead, they got a 24-year-old quarterback who has a long history of serious injuries. Even if he becomes the starter in a few years, he'll already be 26 or 27 years old. They shouldn't have taken a quarterback at all, but if they were really insistent on it, they should have gone with JJ McCarthy, who's less pro-ready but is younger and has higher upside if he sits and learns for a while. This is one of the biggest blunders I've seen in a draft in a long time. Sticking with kind of the same theme, we have the Denver Broncos up next. Now, I get it. They really needed a quarterback, but man, this is just some really bad value. Bo Nix is at best a third-round talent, and instead of just taking their pick of the litter of any of the defensive players in this entire class, they reached on him just so they wouldn't be left in the dust. This is the consequence of their poor planning earlier this offseason, and it's come back to bite them big time. Unless I'm severely underrating Bo Nix, I think that this might be the beginning of the end of the Sean Payton era in Denver. Next up for the losers is the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, don't get me wrong, I totally get their pick, and I agree that Joel is a great player. But man, they're really setting Justin Herbert up for failure. They're going to be one of the most run-heavy teams in the NFL next year, and I'm not sure that they're going to be all effective at that with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins being their top 2 backs. And now that leaves Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnston, and Will Dissly as the top and only pass catchers on this team, which means that Justin Herbert has absolutely no talent around him. I don't expect them to be competitive for another few years at least. The last loser I want to give a shout out to is the Dallas Cowboys. They did absolutely nothing all offseason, and now that they finally had an opportunity to improve their team, they decided to take a project of an offensive lineman in Tyler Guyton rather than taking somebody better like Jackson Powers Johnson. I don't like Guyton very much as a prospect, and even if he does have a high ceiling, it'll be a few years at least before he hits that. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to get anything resembling a rushing attack established next season. Overall, just not a good move for a team that wants to get over the hump and get to a Super Bowl. And that'll about do it for this video. Be sure to stay tuned for content about day 2 of the NFL draft tomorrow, and be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, goodbye.